Hey guys! Excuse the chewing. I haven't eaten anything. So I have these cookies. And they're really good. But I was like, damn, this is the first time I'm getting a chance to eat. Could use another cup of coffee, but it is what it is. Welcome to your live player ratings for Man City 0, Arsenal 0. Not sure why I had to think so hard about the goals because none were scored. Listen, I'm so glad that's over. So glad. Woo! Because that was rough. That was rough. It was. Just like, not like, I was like, okay, this is going to be like a 1-goal game for sure. Because it was so tight the whole time. And let me just address something really quick before we actually get into the actual mess of like player ratings and stuff like that. Is first of all, thank you to everybody that joined the live watch along that we did on Tifo football or Tifo. That was great. We had a lot of fun there, and so we will continue to do watch alongs on there. So I will put more information about it before the Luton game, but because that's the next time we'll do one. But listen, we played like 8 or 9 games and we were scoring 5-6 goals a game and stuff like that. So we entertained you then. We entertained the neutral then. Today, we did not entertain. And listen, we just needed to get a result. A win would have been so much better, especially considering the chances that we did have. But we just needed to not lose. And, you know, people will say, well, in order to win the league, you really needed to win because Liverpool have an easy run in. But that's kind of why I said that, like, in December, we kind of sealed our fate, because if you had already looked at the end of the season, you already knew that. And so having any sort of points for from the Fulham or West Ham game would have been so useful, but we didn't have them. And so, yeah, I think Liverpool are in a really, really good position. That being said, like, isolating our performance, it's like we just needed to not go away and lose, you know. And so we did that. 4 points from the games against City, 4 points from the games against Liverpool. If we had just figured out our lives before Dubai, we would be in so much better of a situation. But that's neither here nor there. I think it's Liverpool's to lose, and if they do lose it, they should feel really stupid because they have no hard teams to play from now until the end of the season, except for they have to go to Old Trafford, which they should be winning, and they have to play Spurs. So there's that. But I feel like, how do I feel? I feel like our defense is so good. We definitely have the best defense. We stop every single team, whether it's Liverpool or City. Um, you know, whatever good teams, you know, there are, from creating anything, you know, and that's really, really good. Um, Especially when you add that on to, like, you know, when we were playing against, you know, before we went into international break, we were adding like loads of goals to that. And so it was wonderful, you know. So I really want to make sure that, you know, I did a stream on Bleacher Report earlier and they were like, you know, we were so poor today. And I was like, I don't know if it was we. I don't know if it was everyone. I feel like being specific is so important, because there were certain players out there that were not poor and were very good. And like, Man City have not been shut out at the Etihad for a while, you know? So I think we have to be like very specific, and that's why player ratings are so important, because we get to talk about people, individuals, you know, in individual scenarios and not just lump everybody together. I think altogether it was a very good performance from everybody in terms of making sure that if you can't win, don't lose, you know, you get something away from home at the Etihad. But there were some performances that I felt like were really, really good. And I felt like there were some that were like, yeah, you know, and I think we'll have a lot of conversations. You know, if today was an indication of anything, it was that any conversations before the, you know, an international break about not getting a striker need to be halted right now. Right freaking now. I'm not even joking. We must get a striker. I don't care if it's a project striker that needs like a couple of months to get up to speed. I don't care if it's, you know, somebody with more experience, but going through this summer window without getting a striker would be so stupid because the chances that Gabriel Jesus got, he had 3. Now, I know a lot of people are focusing in on Trossard not passing to Martinelli. That was another very good opportunity, which was squandered with poor decision making. And what's a very common theme for Arsenal in big games against City is the decision making is poor or the application of the shot is awful. So, you know, we like in the Community Shield, we created 2 really good opportunities for Kai Havertz, both shots scuffed, not put in the back of the net, right? At home, we created nothing really, and it really took like a deflected shot because our decision making in the final third up until that point was like I was out there, like seriously, you know? So those are like the 2 things for me is the decision making in the final third is poor, really, you know, when we're playing against big teams and we know we're only going to have like 1 or 2 chances. And the application of the shot, we really need to get someone that strikes the ball cleanly. I'm so tired of seeing these like really like weak ass shots trickling past the line, like trickling past the sideline or the end line. Like, what are we doing? You know? And so I know that people are like, well, we didn't create any clear-cut opportunities. And I'm just like, it doesn't really matter because we did create opportunities that we did not maximize them because we were too stiff and too like frantic. And then you just don't hit the ball clean enough. And then it just doesn't go, it doesn't even test the keeper. Right. And so against a City team that doesn't really give up much unless you open them up and you play the basketball game. If you're going to do it the way that we're doing it, you're only going to get 1 or 2, 3 really good chances, and we blew them. You know, Jesus got one where he jink, and just weakly, you know, hooks it, you know, past, and then another one that went past, and then he doesn't really like those back post runs, he never gets to those. And like a real number 9 gets to those. And I'm not trying to like really like go in on Jesus, but we know what he does good. He works hard and stuff like that. But um it's just like if it's not going to be against City in the title race, a team that, you know, like you have history with, I just don't know what it's going to take. And if he wasn't fit enough to start, then he shouldn't have started. You know, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it was a gamble to use Jesus. And when the lineup came out, it sounded like a good idea, but you know, maybe Trossard would have been a bit better choice. I don't know. You know, so yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting one because I do feel like we're gonna have many conversations about buying attackers, but I think we need to. Like, I think we need to. That being said, our defense was fantastic. And this is why we need to be very, very clear about who we're saying was poor and who we're saying was not, because that defense was not poor, baby. It was not poor. I thought we nullified again when we always do have a game against City, all of their attackers make it into the combined 11 and none of ours do. Odegaard doesn't make it. Martinelli doesn't make it. Our striker never makes it. Saka gets like sometimes in it, sometimes not. I saw so many combined 11s without any Arsenal attackers in them, right? And fair enough because they're considered the top tier of Europe, but our defense stopped theirs. I expect their defenders to stop ours. I think our attack can be very weak against good teams, right? But they have Kevin De Bruyne, they have Holland, they have Foden, they have Bernardo, and they didn't do anything. And then they switched it up and put Doku and Grealish in, and they really did nothing. And they're at home, right? Our defense is so good. Is so good. It's so good. Like, it really is, and, like, I know that some people do not wanna hear about we already know we need to buy attackers, like, it's like almost like a dead conversation at this point. We do not have enough quality up front. We don't. We're doing Arteta's doing a lot with, you know, a group that doesn't have it, you know? And that's just the truth in my opinion, right? But our defense is top freaking tier. Top tier. Top tier. Rice was fantastic, sweeping up, in front, keeping Kevin De Bruyne quiet. Gabriel keeping Haaland quiet. Saliba was doing a lot of good sweeping as well. Ben White was probably my favorite player in the first half. I thought he was amazing. And Kivior was good too. I think the game was just about getting away from him. He did play a lot during the international break, and I thought we put Tommy in at just the right time because Tommy, once he got up to speed, yes, his touch was off, but the defending gene, that thing did not go away. He had Doku locked. I really am like, if we could, like, our defense is like at the maximum. If we could supercharge our attack, we could be so, so good. Because we're already really, really good, but we could be like the best team, right? And so I just feel like our defense like really deserves a lot of credit because again, this is Man City at the Etihad, a team that has consistently bopped us 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, right? And so it's so important to give them their flowers because they were good. And they probably do look at our attack sometimes and they're like, damn, well, these guys put the ball in the back of the net because we're putting in fantastic performances. And what are we getting? You know, against, at Liverpool at Anfield, blunt, same thing today. Gabriel scored a goal on a header against Liverpool. So there is something about our attack, but our freaking defense was on fire. And I know people, when we parked the bus. It's like, so that doesn't mean the defense wasn't good. I feel like the way that we play against City away from home or whatever is we sit in our shape. We allow them to have all the possession, which is what people like. If we don't score and a team does that to us, it's a defensive masterclass, is it not? When Newcastle did that to us at home last season, it was a defensive masterclass, was it not? Porto, they did that to us. Defensive masterclass, was it not? So I do feel like, if it's a defensive masterclass for them, it's a defensive masterclass for us because we did it against the best team in Europe, the treble winners, right? And so I really do like, I love our defense. I think our defense is where we've obviously invested the most and we've gotten the most joy from. And the reason why we are in the title race right now is because of our defense, because they've also helped us with goals too. So well done to everybody back there. I think Raya had some dodgy moments kicking the ball, but he also was slipping a lot. So, but he wasn't really tested. He wasn't really tested. He didn't really have to make any saves, right? And so he claimed some crosses really well. So, yeah, I really do think that like our defense was really good. I actually thought Odegaard had a good game too, but it was like he had some mixed moments when he had 2 chances where he could have slipped the ball through where his pass wasn't good enough, but he did slip Trossard through and Trossard should have done so much better with that pass. And I thought Odegaard in the first half where I felt like Saka just wasn't even creating any opportunities for us. Like if you're going to sit in deep, you're going to defend, your attackers need to nick the ball off of their defenders, make them make decisions, put them under pressure, not foul, put them under pressure, cut off the passing lanes and try to create things for us. And I thought Odegaard did that a couple of times for us. I thought Kai did that a couple of times for us. I just found the performance from like Saka and Jesus in particular to be quite disappointing. And when you're only playing with 2 people up front and your wing players are not even really involved, it's kind of like, okay, what are you going to do? So yeah, I thought, yeah, it's mixed performance. It just felt very much so the same, but we didn't have the mistake in us this time. We really need to invest in that front line, really. But that defense, I will not speak a word of negativity about that defense because they stopped Bernardo Silva, Foden, Haaland, and Kevin De Bruyne from doing anything. Gabriel had some moments in there where I was just like, where he stuck his head in a place where Rodri, then he headed it, Rodri hit him in the head. Like Gabriel was doing some mad shit back there. Ben White also, like he had an intervention at the back post where if he's not there or makes a mistake, Haaland is putting that in the back of the net. So yeah, it's a tough one to take because we had some opportunities, but man, our defense is good. It is. It's certified. And I know like rivals are, well, we weren't entertained. Well, we're not here to entertain you. We're here to make sure that we get the point that we need. And we absolutely did that. Focus on beating Burnley and those guys. Focus on beating Brentford at home. Stop focusing on us. Hugo says Kiwi ran out of gas, unfortunately, but was good versus Silva. I think once he got past like that initial moment where I was like, no, Kiwi. I think he did do well, but like you said, he ran out of gas. It was the perfect time to, sub him off. Arnolito said that pitch was caca. A lot of people were slipping, but like Raya was really slipping. And it was just like every time he kicked it, it just went straight to a Man City player. And I was just like, feck. Scott said, Modest, I agree. Trossard didn't control the ball on the first touch. Aid says, if we have a world-class striker and a proper DM, if we are going to move to the next level, I don't know if we need like a proper DM. I don't know what that means. I think if you watched Rice today and you don't think we have a proper DM, I would suggest you go to Specsavers or whatever Lens Crafters or whatever you have, because Rice's performance was out of this world. The years gone by, KDB has just ran straight past whoever's been playing in DM for us, and he got no joy because Rice was absolutely riding him. It was so great to see. So we do have a proper DM, and then we have Partey and Jorginho. So I'm not sure we need a proper DM. I feel like we need maybe a number 8 or somebody that can do the Georgie stuff, but a little bit further forward so that Rice could sit in his number 6 role. That he did well today, by the way. But we do need a striker and a winger, so not sure about the proper DM thing because Rice was really, really good today. And the only reason why he doesn't play further back is because we have 2 DMs that are more playmakers. And so if just think about like the way that they play, if all we need to do is add another creative passer into the midfield, whether that's a DM or a number 8, it doesn't matter. But if you want to get the best out of Rice, I feel like he needs to be in the 6th role. And then if you just give him, like, we don't have that. We have 2 DMs that are probably better passers than our freaking number 10s. You have Fabio and Emil, who offer much less consistently than Partey and Jorginho. So the only way to make midfield work right now is for Jorginho or Partey to play, and both of them are also number 6s, but neither of them have the ability to play in the number 8. So what happens is Rice gets moved into the 8. So people are saying we need a DM. We don't need a DM. Did you guys watch Rice for England over the international break? He is a number 6. He is a number 6. That is his calling. That is where he needs to play. Does he need some things to work on? Absolutely. But today, I don't know if y'all were watching or not, but I thought Rice was amazing. Rice is the 6. Bring a number 8 that can do the creative passing part, and we're good to go. But it's just the way that our midfield has been built up. Rice is the only player that we have that can play in multiple positions in the midfield, really. Everybody else is kind of either a number 6 or a number 10, right? And so I thought Partey actually I thought was good when he came on as well. He passed the ball once he kind of got settled. He passed the ball from he kind of like kept it, looked over his shoulder, kept it, passed it to Odegaard. Odegaard got it in the pocket, and that's how Odegaard threaded that ball through to Trossard. So I actually think, Partey played well today. And again, for people that say that I freaking hate Partey, I don't hate him. He's just injury prone and not reliable. But a performance like today is like, okay, if you can just build on that, then I can see how you have a role from now until the end of the season. He just has to remain fit. But also the I still feel like Rice needs to be a little bit deeper too next to Partey because he got ripped by KDB one time. But that's just it. O'Malley says we have 12 clean sheets. Scott said our defense could bring us the Champions League trophy. Boy says I don't think our attack performed poorly collectively. They're just we're working on limited chances against a well-drilled City defense. We are definitely harsh with our attackers, potentially. Ade or Aid says Rice had to work overtime today. Partey was not helpful at all, in my opinion. Partey's past his sell-by date, splash the cash on a DM that will complement Rice. I mean, I do think we need to move beyond Partey mostly because of his injury problems, but I will say that I don't know if Partey was a problem today. I think Jorginho was largely ineffective when he was out there. We just didn't see a lot of his, like, he did some good stuff like winning the ball back and making some tackles, but ultimately, like, he didn't have the time and space to make those passes. And so it did feel like a lot like Odegaard and Rice were doing a lot of work in there. When Partey came in, once he kind of got settled, he did make some good passes and made some good moves or whatever. But ultimately, we need a big midfield signing because none of these options really, like, none of the Fabio Vieira, Emil Smith-Rowe, Partey, or Jorginho is enough. Like, we need to condense them, probably get rid of one in each group, 110 and 1-6, and get an 8 that can do everything and complement the midfield of Odegaard and Rice. That's what we most likely need to do. But I don't think Partey was not helpful. I do think that he played well, considering not a lot of time, and had been injured the whole season. I thought he was okay. Let's see. Boy says Rice is the DM. Arsenal fans want him to become a 10, though. I think there's just like this lack of acceptance about Rice being our number 6, and I just don't really understand why that is, because his best qualities fit the number 6 role so well. And of course he plays well in the 8, but if we got a natural number 8, I think you'd instantly see that, like, we don't have a natural number 8. He's our best. The fact that our best number 6 is also our best option as a number 8 is because of poor squad planning. I hate to go back to this, but we've figured it out since then. But buying Havertz and not buying a midfielder or a striker was just poor like squad planning, because we are left with not a single number 8, and our best number 8 is our number 6. And so it leaves us a little like disjointed everywhere. And we've been able to figure out a solution for it. But ultimately that needs to be righted in the summer. Like, it just really does. Like, Rice is literally our number 6. And I don't see like why that's like not obvious, but it is what it is. Enigma says just cultivated a party hate group. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. World Boss says bye Thomas, time to go. Winning Way says Brahim Diaz would be like Sanchez coming from us to Barca at that time. Baza says Subamendi. Scott says Partey definitely played better today. More minutes at the weekend will help him loads. I do think he played well today. Rishab says Tommy is great at 1v1s. His touch was off, and I know why that was. He hasn't played that consistently, but you just see that like the 1v1 thing that he has is very useful. I don't know if Tommy as our left back, it's gonna be Timber, right? Because you're gonna play White. Like, our best options, if we don't buy somebody, is going to be Timber and White. And they're like all weather players that can do the defense, that do the passing, can invert and overlap, can do all the things. So I don't think Tommy is ever going to be somebody that we want to start all the time, because he's a little rough going forward. But 1v1, that guy's got talent. He's got talent. Big Dead Man says we just got to keep playing well. I agree. Winning Way says I'm Party's biggest fan. It's over. You can see it. He needs to go to Italy. Kick the ball there. Mark says Jorginho was cut off by City's midfield, and the thing is like the best. I think I forget who said it. It was like probably wasn't what's his name? Paul on Arsenal Vision. He says this all the time, but he's like, other teams get to do tactics too. And I feel like we only focus on our side of the things. If there's anybody that's going to be able to figure out a way to stop Arsenal, it's probably going to be Pep or Klopp. And Pep had our number in that first like 15 minutes. It took us a while to get going. And so they did their homework. Other teams, especially the best team in Europe, is going to figure out ways to stop us from doing what we did to Brentford, doing what we did to Burnley, doing what we did to West Ham, doing what we did to so-and-so, right? And so if they watched the Liverpool game, they definitely saw Jorginho and made sure that he couldn't do what he does well, So, yeah, it's, the idea that like, we're just supposed to go in there and dominate and everybody played poorly if we didn't do that is a little like, Jorginho was just less effective than he usually is because they figured out a way to stop him, but they could not stop Rice. Rice was the only player like him and Ben White in the first 15 minutes when we were under it that actually had his head up, could calm his heart rate down, and find a red shirt under pressure. Genuinely, everybody else had like that. You know how horses have the blinders, and like when you're nervous or you're in a stressful situation, it feels like everything is closing in and you can't see clearly. That's what everybody had on. It was like their heads were down. They were rushing everything. They weren't finding a red shirt. And Rice and Ben were doing that from the very beginning. And then Odegaard started growing into it. Saliba was growing into it. Everybody else was growing into it. But I genuinely need to see a comp of that Rice performance, because beyond like maybe one bad pass that he passed forward trying to find like Jesus or something, I genuinely feel like he was probably the best midfielder out there. He kept Kevin De Bruyne quiet. He stopped all their counterattacks. He was so calm and cool and collected on the ball. He could not be stripped of the ball either. Like Kevin De Bruyne tried to, and this is the difference really between Partey and Rice, is that Rice can take the ball off of Kevin De Bruyne and also stop him from taking the ball from him. Partey cannot take the ball off of Kevin De Bruyne, and he also can't keep Kevin De Bruyne from taking the ball off of him. So as good as Partey is on the ball, he cannot keep, there's certain players that can bump him off the ball, and Kevin De Bruyne did it to him today and ran beyond him. So yeah, it's interesting. Samful says one characteristic of a world-class player is they turn up in big moments. That said and done, how would you rate world-class Saka today, Jess? I think he had a poor game. But I think you said one characteristic that's your definition of a world-class player. Again, like I don't really want to go over this again. If you don't think Sam, if you don't think Saka is world-class, that's fine. You're not gonna change my opinion, like at all. Because my definition of it is somebody who's best in their position for 2 or 3 seasons. And that's what Saka has been, because there's better than world class. There's elite and legends. Saka is not elite yet because he hasn't won anything. And sometimes he does flatter to deceive in the big moments. So I'm not going to change my opinion on it. I don't feel like it needs to always be brought up. If you don't think he's world class, you don't think he's world class. That's why the conversations can be a little bit deceiving, because it's like, if your definition is different than mine, you're not going to convince me. So you don't think he's world class. I think he's world class. I think he had a poor game today, and it is what it is, Diallo says the Kiwi got cooked today. Laugh out loud, but we move. Did he? I think he had one bad moment. I don't know if he got cooked. I think he had one bad moment at the very beginning. But then I think for the most part beyond that, how many times did Bernardo actually get beyond him? Bernardo did some tricky things and looked nice on the ball, but did he actually get beyond Kiwi? I think there was like one point where he did. Boy says, I'm just glad that City actually have to respect us even when ourselves are heavily respecting them. Mata says Benny Blanco should have had an assist today for sure. He definitely should. I thought he was really good today. Baza said Arteta does not like traditional fullbacks like Tierney. We convert center halves, White Tommy, and put our midfielders like Zinchenko there. I'm okay with it, to be honest. I think it works for us. I feel like we don't like our defense and the way that we build up and all that kind of stuff is just to me not an issue. I think our biggest issue is in the 5% of games where we need somebody to come up with something special. They don't. And so we really need to look at maybe, a couple of different attackers, maybe somebody to take off the creative burden from Odegaard all the time. We need another midfielder and we need at least one more attacker. I feel like all of that would help, but I don't really have an issue with the way that our defense is set up. Yeah. Barchi says, do you think Rice is a hindrance to our attack despite being good defensively? No, I think we're so beyond this now. I feel like the hindrance to the attack and all this, like how he's just not a hindrance to our attack. He's just not. Our DM is not a hindrance to our attack. I think we're too attached to the idea. Some people are still attached to the idea of Partey and the way that we played with him. We have scored so many goals with Rice either playing in the 8 or in the 6. He's not a hindrance to our attack. He's not the reason why Jesus could not connect to the pass today or connect to the shot today. He's not the reason why Jesus could not connect to the cross today. He's not the reason why Trossard didn't pass the ball to Martinelli. He's not a hindrance to our attack. He's just not. So we really should not be going back. It's like that is so going backwards to like pre-Dubai. Like he's not a hindrance to our attack. And there's multiple ways to create chances. I feel like we have like a very stale way of thinking about how you create attacks. You're like, we have to pass through all the thirds, create all these cute little triangles. There's more ways to do it. And the way that we do it with Rice and Havertz is by just winning the ball up high. There's more ways to do it. Get over the aesthetics. Rice does not hinder our attacks. We need better attackers. Like seriously, like one of the best players on the pitch today. And we're like, is he hindering our attacks? Did he stop Jesus from actually connecting to the shot? No, I don't think so. Unless Rice was holding back Jesus's leg like this, like, I don't know what to tell you. He's not a problem. Sample says, after what Haaland did to us last season, Gabriel took it personal and had a vendetta with him. The guy did not just pocket Haaland; they hit him in the crack of his ass. Yeah, Gabriel was really good today, and I thought he had just enough edge for Haaland to make it uncomfortable. And I don't think Anthony Taylor had the best game, but I think that he did a good job of not, stopping too much of that, because like in a title decider or a rivalry like this, you have to allow the likes of Gabrielle and Holland to get into it. You kind of have to let, the Diaz's and these guys get into it with Havertz. I really do feel like we got a lot of that, and he wasn't too phased by the physicality in the boxes and all that kind of stuff. Because at one point, Holland was trying to get a penalty, and it was like, you need to get up, honestly. But, I think, again, we have an elite defense, and they deserve a lot of credit today for the hard work that they put in. James says, tiring to think that we might have to play them again in the Champions League. Mata says, Rice stops transitions and allows us to win the ball faster and attack more. He helps the attack. Blaze says, some Arsenal fans hate Declan Rice. I really genuinely feel like we are very attached to the way that we played last season, and anything that doesn't look like that is all of a sudden like a hindrance. We've been so good with Havertz and Rice playing in our team. I think it's honestly, it's just the 5% of games where, and also like, you had Jorginho in midfield. We found that balance, which was great. And we still played good games with Declan Rice and Havertz in midfield, by the way. But I just feel like we're reaching the point of, so what's going to give us that extra 2 to 5% in games where we're just all like both teams are nullifying themselves. And I really do feel like that's probably going to come in like a striker and probably another midfielder. I think those are going to be the differences, genuinely. And shout out to Martinelli, who I think when he came out on the pitch made a little sparkle. He wasn't like amazing, and he didn't really get like his shot off the way that I felt like he could have, but I do feel like, we really really miss him when he's not there. And maybe that's something that I took for granted sometimes, but I still feel like we can do something on left wing. But shout out to him, because we do miss his pace, and we lack speed in the front line, and without him, we don't really offer that much threat. So shout out to him for coming out there and being a threat. I would love to see him play against Luton. O'Malley, thank you so much for your super chat. You are adding to Jessica's coffee fund, which I love. Thank you so much. Shout out to Arsenal women. Great win after a scary moment, and Emma Hayes stays salty. Arsenal women have won the Conti Cup. This is our second year in a row winning the Conti Cup against Chelsea. The first year, Emma Hayes said that Arsenal won because they haven't won a lot, and they look like a team that hasn't won a lot. This season, she actually pushed Jonas Idewall at the end of the game like a weirdo. Obviously, I'm going to enjoy Emma as the new U.S. women's national team coach, but I'm so happy that she didn't get she's not going to get her quadruple. And I'm really hoping that Barcelona does a job on them in the Champions League, so that Arsenal remain the only English team to have ever won the Champions League on the women's side. So stay salty, Emma, and congratulations to Arsenal women who in a dark season have still figured out a way to win some silverware, which, I'm really happy about. Diallo also said, no slander on Kiwi, by the way, but if that was Zinni, I feel like that was only one time and it didn't really come from anything, but Zinni would have gotten cooked multiple times. Zinchenko, I'm glad he didn't play today. I don't think it was the game for him. And, I just don't think him or Jesus play particularly well against Man City. I think they both have some sort of mental trauma from being at that club, and so they kind of get wrapped up in it for some reason. I think Zinni not playing was the right call. Kivior had like one dodgy moment at the very beginning, but I'm struggling to remember any more times where he got cooked. But I thought he had a good game. Alejandro, thank you so much for your super chat. Says we will beat City in the semis and win the league. Personally, I hope Real Madrid wins that and we get past Bayern and we don't have to play them again, because I just can't do another one of those. It's just too tight, Sammy says Bernardo would have sent Zinni back to London. Chosen One says, to be fair, Jess, in regards to Saka, while he didn't have a good game offensively, he almost got an assist on that cutback. Good pass, just nobody got on the end of it. And yeah, he did have. I do genuinely feel like Jesus has to do better there. I just feel like he is always kind of like that on the back post. He either gets to it and misses it completely, or doesn't get to it at all. So yeah, I think he could have had an assist. I can't get it out of my feeling that, like, even towards, like, the end of before he got subbed out, that there were just so many moments where he just wasn't sharp and quick, to, like, get rid of the ball, to make a move, to do this and that, and there were just several moments where, like, Odegaard just ran Gvardiol over, ran Kovacic over, nicked the ball off of them, and just created a moment for us to just get up the pitch and, like, create something, and we need players to create moments, like Martinelli against Liverpool, like, that's just sheer nothing, a long ball, and, he put some pressure on Van Dijk and freaking Allison, and then he can kick it in the back of the net. Like, in games that are incredibly close, you have to create moments, and I feel like we play so, like, our forwards sometimes play within themselves too much to create those moments, and it was nice to see Odegaard try to make those moments for us, and Martinelli came out there and tried to do it as well, but maybe Saka is dealing with a little bit of an injury, but I just felt like he played within himself. And I felt like Jesus was just like maybe just dealing with the knee injury. But when you get those chances, I need you to really hit through the ball. And he is just so weak. It was just so weak. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, it was just so weak. Yaya says, seeing a lot of Partey hate. Why do folks want from him? If he's injured, he's never available. If he's in, he's brain dead. I can't wait for what I can't with some of these AFC fans. We need to support all the players to the end. I feel like it's see, I feel like Partey hate comes from people that will never acknowledge that Partey has been a hindrance to us, or, like, not a hindrance, but his as somebody who is a massive signing for us in a time where money was tight, for him to have been such a if we're being honest, he's been probably a pretty poor signing based on the amount of times that he's actually played, and when he has played, he's made some really big errors or been really poor throughout, like, big games. So, I feel like when we have these conversations and people speak that, and then people pretend like those things didn't happen and say Partey is amazing, and then they start saying he's better than Rice, and then they start hating Rice. No matter what Partey does now, people won't be honest because people weren't honest about Partey from the beginning. So everything becomes agenda. And so this, again, when people were saying, Jessica, you have a Partey agenda, I knew this would happen because on a game where I feel like Partey played well, I feel like I can be honest and say that he has. It doesn't change my overall feeling about him being a poor signing and really disappointing and probably needs to go this summer. But on today, I felt like he had a good little cameo, and I think he should start against Luton, because if he can build on that and remain fit from now until the end of the season, he could probably be our best option from now until then, you know? But that's what happens. When people were honest about Partey, people that love Partey were unable to, like, take in that information because they got instantly defensive, and their reaction from that was to talk about Rice, who has been probably one of our players of the season. So now it goes back the other direction. Partey, I think, played well today. Doesn't change anything about how I feel about him as a player in terms of his standing as a signing, but he wasn't bad today. And so it's just hard to have honest conversations, because anybody who's sitting here and saying that they think Partey has been a good signing and he's been, like, his injuries haven't been a problem is a liar. But I also feel like people that think he played terribly today are also lying, So I don't have agendas really, but I knew this was going to happen because they're not honest. Like, they're not honest, Diehard Gunner says, how was Jorginho today? I think he was largely ineffective. Somebody said I had a soft spot for him because I said, because he wasn't good. And I said at the very beginning that I felt like he was ineffective. So I don't know, like, if I could say he was terrible for you if it makes it better, but I think he was ineffective. I think that pretty much sums up what I think he was. So yeah. Winning Way says, Pepe for Porto looks good. Let's see. Alistair Ben says Partey and Tommy both looked a little rusty, then get some games and you'll see a different players. And I think that's why Luton is a good opportunity for them. I think if you can play for like 30 minutes or so against City, then you should be able to turn around and play against Luton from the beginning. And then, Jorginho could probably sit out, and then Kivior could get some much needed rest, and we can see where Tommy is fitness wise. I also think Saka should sit out. I think he came out with another injury, and I feel like we need to figure out something else, another option, because you know, he's just somebody that never gets rest. And I know that there's also like this, yeah, well, the best players play all the time, but not always when they're injured. And so if we could play, Martinelli off the right and Trossard off the left or something like that against Luton, I feel like that could be useful to us, because it gives us another look just in case Saka cannot play. Because if this is his level, like if this is what we're going to be seeing while he's not fit enough, I do feel like we need to find something else too, So Martinelli off the right, Trossard off the left, Jesus off of the right, Trossard off the left, Martinelli off the left, something like that. Saka should not play against Luton. We have too many important games, and he's either, I don't know, he's either hit a wall or he's not fit enough. But today was just like another one of those games where it just kind of passed him by. So yeah, there's an opportunity, a very slim opportunity for us to maybe rotate some of our players, but Saka came off injured again. So let's see. Let's see. Blaze says Rice and Partey are good players. We need to relax and stop slandering our players because we need to support them. Fair enough. So yeah, let's go ahead and start our player ratings. There's 265 of you guys in here. We're gonna fly through these a little bit, but we'll get a chance to talk about everybody, which is good. I want to be with you. Okay, so we'll start off with Raya. You guys go ahead and get in the chat and let me know what you guys are thinking. You guys can also vote on the poll too for man of the match. I have Rice, White, Gabriel, and Saliba because they were the best players on the pitch. You guys can vote. Let's see. All right. So mixed for me on Raya. Just he wasn't really tested, so it wasn't like he got a clean sheet. It was what it was. He claimed some crosses. I just think he kept slipping when he kept kicking the ball out. So he had like a mixed game in terms of playing out from the back. But I think for the most part, he was really calm, cool, and collected. He didn't do anything that was like so egregious that like, it almost cost us a goal. I think most of it was just like, he slipped when he kicked it, and then it just went to a City player, and then we had to defend or whatever. So, yeah, I'm gonna give him like a 6.5. It's probably harsh because he got the clean sheet. Actually, I'll give him like a 7. He wasn't really tested. It was what it was. Like, if he had put in a couple of like really, maybe I think he had like maybe I don't know if he had any saves. Like I'm trying to think. Like they had one shot on target. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a 7. I feel comfortable with that. Clean sheet, probably some dodgy kicking, but for the most part, he didn't cause any mayhem. And I think that's the most important thing. Like we were very calm at the back, despite having some moments without the ball for long moments, and then claiming the crosses, making sure that we were organized at the back. Like I think he did a good job. White to me was again best player in the first half. Probably should have had an assist. He was just really, really good. Another really good performance from Ben. He did so many good things. I mean, they had no joy on that side. So little joy that when Pep decided to put Doku in, he didn't put him in on the left. He put him in on the right. So, Ben, he had a good game on the ball, off the ball. And like I said, from the beginning was one of the players that actually had his head up and was able to find a teammate in a moment where we were really under it at the beginning because, City were trying to score that goal early and they couldn't do it. So I'm actually going to give Ben an 8. I thought I'm going to give him higher than that. I'm going to give him an 8.5. I just felt like it's another really good performance from Ben, and that's why it's like he also is playing with like a serious strapping on his leg. Like he plays through injury. He had a really tough period where, he wasn't fit, but ever since then, my goodness, he's been like the guy that we've always known him to be. And so it's his spot until somebody does something, like so somebody makes a shake. Because right now, Ben is very much so the right back. Like, Saliba and Gabriel. I think Gabriel was better than Saliba, but I'll give Saliba an 8. I think, yeah, I'll give him an 8. I think he wasn't as good as Ben and not as good as Gabriel, because Gabriel is about to get a 9, but I think he was still very, very good, much better than he has been in recent games. So I'm going to give Saliba an 8. And I'm gonna give fucking Gabrielle a 9. I don't give a shit. Matt, he was all in things head, all in Holland's head, made him look like shit. He was hard nosed, he was heading the ball out, he was doing so many good things. I love Gabrielle. This is his moment, man. Like he's really having like a fantastic season. Like if it wasn't for recency, newness, new toy syndrome, he's our player of the season. Some people will say it's Rice, but I think it's Gabrielle. The goals that he scored, clean sheets, he's the leader back there. He's always available. It's Gabrielle. It really is. Like Ben was amazing today, so was Saliba, but Gabrielle just is like on another level. And he's just I don't know what it's going to take for him to get his flowers. Maybe it'll be this season, maybe it won't, but he's genuinely been one of the best defenders in the league this season. And like, not to compare players, but he's been better than Saliba, and Saliba is amazing. So if Gabriel's been better than Saliba, then how good has he been, right? So yeah, I think Gabriel is having a special season. I really hope we have something to show at the end of it, but the streets will not forget. 2024 has been Gabriel. It really has been. And Kiwi, you got burnt once, I remember. So I'm gonna give Kiwi a 7. I don't think he did that much wrong. Sorry, I don't think he did that much wrong, but it was definitely the right time to take him out. Let's see what you guys are saying. Johnny D says Gabriel is better than Saliba because he scored those goals. That's it. I also just think he's been a better defender. Like I think anybody that has been like genuinely watching will be. And this is another thing. When I said against Nottingham Forest that Saliba was having some difficulties, people pretended like it wasn't happening, and it was. And then it ended up costing us in that game and in further games. So Saliba's not bad, but he's younger than Gabriel, so it's not that surprising to me. Um, so I think Gabriel has been better than Saliba, not just because of the goals. I think he's been the better defender. And I feel like that's like normal. Um, Johnny D says 7 for me for Kiwi. Scott says 6.5 for Kiwi. Let's go back up. Because I missed a lot of these up here. Um, the Bang says Raya saved the Ake attempt. Fabrice says an 8. Die Hard says White 7. Chola says 8 for Ben. Johnny D says 7.5 out of 10. Wasn't helped by the midfield. Easy 8 if he was helped more for White. Scott says 8.5. Samful says 8 for Ben. Was a nuisance. Simon says 8.5. Love White. Scott's clapping for White. Sib says Ben White was amazing. 8. Gabrielle, man of the match, 10. Saliba, 9. Fabrice says 9. Jude says 9. Scott Thomas says 9. Goyan says Saliba, 8. Gabrielle, 8. Diehard Gunner says Gabrielle gets a 9 and is the man of the match. Jordan Davis says Saliba, 8. Gabrielle, 9. Johnny D says he was good. Yes, 8.5 out of 10. Then only Rice gets a 9 for me. Mata says 9 out of 10. Defending, 11 out of 10. Dark Arts. I love that. Scott says Gabrielle is a beast. Yursa Major says Gabrielle and Holland exchange post-match class, 9 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of this. Let's see. Caesar says 9.5 for White. Issa says 7. Happy we can rely on him. Blaze says people need to stop divide Gabrielle and Saliba. Both of them are good defenders, and Gabrielle is our best defender this season. They're good together. Like they're good together. Like I feel like the strength is both of them together. I don't think either one of them is as strong without the partnership. And that's really important too. So it is what it is. I'm happy to have both of them. Remember, this used to be Mustafi. Let's be serious, so I'm a happy bunny. For me, the best player on the pitch, probably for us, for the whole 90 in terms of what he did for everything. he's the difference between us being able to compete in these big games or not. And this is why the whole does he, hinder us and blah blah blah. I'm like, do you guys watch? Do you guys actually watch? They're just like the big games that we play, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's, I mean, we instantly like stopped being able to compete in the midfield once he went off against Spurs. He brought us back into the game against Chelsea. He helped win us the game against Man United. He was fantastic at home against City. He was fantastic away. There's just so many things. He was really good at home against Liverpool. Like he's very consistent. I think he is the reason or a big reason why we're able to truly compete in these big games, because you need somebody that can stop their midfield from being able to just run through us. And he stopped Kevin De Bruyne so many times in his tracks. And he did this thing like we would converge on Rodri and Rice would be like the main person doing it. And it worked a lot, So I thought I think him and Gabriel are probably my man of the matches, both the same, but Rice gets a 9 for me. I think I'm really happy that we did not allow Man City to get him, because what a team they would be with him. So, yeah. Mark says Rice was definitely an 8.6 with Ben was occasionally all we had in the first half. Kende says, just you're overboard with Rice. He was just average today, 6. If you watched with a blindfold, yeah, for sure. He was just a 6, but he was actually really, really good. And I think some people just need to let go of it. Let whatever little agenda you have against Rice, maybe you were wrong about him from the beginning, whatever, because anybody that truly watched the game is not giving Rice a 6, genuinely. So if you watched it with a blindfold or, no glasses or whatever, the least he should be getting is an 8. But I think he was the best player on the pitch, because you just get ran through in midfield without him. And it's the things that he prevents from happening that are not like, people don't care about what's prevented. They only care about what's done on the ball. And that's our biggest problem, is that if he's not doing the line splitting pass, he's not doing anything, but he's stopping us from getting ripped. He's stopping us from being taken advantage of, like how we were last season. So I genuinely do feel like people are having a hard time just like getting that Rice prevents so much shit from happening. But we only care about what happens on the ball. So yeah. Scott says Rice a 6. That ain't an Arsenal fan. Ignore him, Jess. Mark says a 9 is truly special performance. A high 8 for me is very good. I could say like maybe I thought he was better than, but I think most people are giving him like at least an 8. Because we were all watching the same game. Sammy says, loved when he fixed his mistake after he gave the ball away. Exactly. It's those things. Ursa Major says Rice 8. Fabrice says Rice 9 or 8.5. Tawanda says Rice was fantastic. Jude K says 8. So yeah. And Rodri was really good today as well. But I don't think Rice looked out of place. So yeah, Johan says, do you have an agenda against Saliba, asking because you don't seem to be giving him his flowers? He's for a great season he's having. Did I say Saliba's had a bad season? Can anybody remember me saying Saliba's having a bad season? Can anybody remember me saying that? Because again, it's like there's like, if you say anything that's not overtly positive about a player, like I said, he was having a moment where he wasn't playing as well as he usually plays, Saliba, which his general level is better than almost everybody else, but he had some really poor for his standards games against Forest and against, Liverpool away and stuff like that. So I never said he was having a bad season. I just said Gabriel is having a better season than him. And because Saliba is so good, that means Gabriel has been really, really good. If Gabriel's been better than Saliba and Saliba's fantastic, then Gabriel's been amazing. So when did I say he's having a bad season? Like, come on. Like, you guys, stop listening to stop thinking about what you want to hear bad things. Like, I'm not saying Saliba's been terrible, but the idea that he's not had any bad games or had games where he's played below his level is just people wanting to protect him from being a normal player. He's 22. He's gonna have games where he's off, but recognizing it or even acknowledging it is against the rules. And I don't play those rules. Saliba's had bad games. Gabriel has been our most consistent defender and been our best defender this season, in my opinion. I feel like it's very clear too. Saliba was probably better than Gabriel last season. So who cares? Like, they're both amazing. They're both fantastic, you know? Like, nobody has an agenda against Saliba, but this idea that he's just like it's kinda like the same thing with Gabriel and Saka, I feel like. Saka is the star boy, so Martinelli, whatever he does is never really, like, noticed, but he's also very important to what we do. Gabriel's kinda similar, where it's because Saliba is the star boy back there, it's just, like, set in stone that Saliba is holding Gabriel's hand, and it's not true. They're both amazing, but Gabriel has been the guy for us back there this season, and it's fine. Quinn says, Jess, 8 for Gabrielle. What do you think, Jess? Team developing a real mental toughness. I think that's the biggest takeaway for today is that we didn't get swept away in the moment. We were able to keep, you know, the clean sheet. We weren't able to score, but um, you know, I think we are a lot better than we were last season in the big moments for sure. Let's see. Yursa Major says, Jess, you give Saliba nonstop props all season. I just tell it like how I see it. I do think some people have a hard time hearing that their favorite player may have not played well a couple of games, and what they hear is, "So you fucking hate Saliba?" No, I don't. Mark says Saliba has made a few mistakes this season, and he's admitted as much. Though Gabrielle's been near perfect. So yeah, let's see. Winning Way says Rice, perfect box to box midfielder. This guy should be playing for Real Madrid. Winning Way says I wasn't even with Rice at the start, but he has grown into a top tier player. Blaze says Saliba is only Arsenal player who played all games for us this season. Saliba, Gabriel, and White played with injuries this season. All fantastic players and all played really, really good today. It's just I'm just happy we don't have Mustafi and Socrates anymore. That's all I'm gonna say. I rate all of our defenders, and I think we're in a really good position with them all. Let's go to Odegaard. I would say Odegaard, captain's performance, won the ball back for us a lot, created some chances for us on his own, which is what I asked for when we're under it and we don't have as much possession as we would like. I think it's important for our attackers to make chances for us, and I think he did a lot of that in like the first half. I would say that there was 2 opportunities for him to pass the ball into some of our attackers, and he messed a couple of those up. But he had one with Kai that was like very near, and then he had the one to Trossard. And again, against City, you're not going to have many of these opportunities. I think Odegaard had a good game, not good enough to be man of the match, but kind of like the best of the rest. Like our defenders plus Rice were definitely our best players. Odegaard is like kind of in the next group, and then the other players are just the other players. So I'm gonna give him a 7. Because it's just those 2 passes where I just feel like I have such high standards for Odegaard that I'm like, I think you should be making those. But other than that, I think he had a captain's performance and he definitely was not missing for sure. So yeah, I would say 7-ish around there for sure. Um, let's see. Winning Way says Odegaard lost the ball too much, but still made some things happen. I think so too. Like for a player that's so technically sound, I was very surprised that those passes, those simple passes that he usually gets right, he just couldn't get them going. Um, so yeah, it was one of those. But I think, it wasn't a game where he just went missing. Mark says Odegaard 7.6, excellent hustle, passing inaccuracies held his score back. Exactly. Let's see. Ursa Major says Odegaard 7. Scott Thomas says Odegaard 6.5, close to 7. Fabrice says Odegaard 8, good at attack, especially second half. Goyan says Odegaard 6. Yeah. I think like somewhere around there. Like it definitely wasn't like perfection from Odegaard. It wasn't quite the Porto performance, but it definitely was like didn't go missing. And I think there is like an interesting point that like Odegaard is kind of like our only creative outlet in our team. Especially because we got like nothing from our wingers like at all from a creation standpoint. But City have Kevin De Bruyne, Foden, and Bernardo, and I think that's something that needs to be looked at. Either the number 8 that we bring in needs to be more of a creative player, not somebody that's just a number 10, but somebody that has some creative nous about them. And we also need to look at the wide areas and say if there's a way that we can bring in somebody that creates chances on their own, because there's a lot of onus on Odegaard to do everything. And, you know, I think he does a really good job at it, but if Saka's not going, there's no other creation going on. And I think that that's a little, you know, that's tough. That's a tough one. Blaze says, question, Jess, why do some Arsenal fans hate Odegaard? He played good this season. I don't know. I don't know. It's a question that I always ask myself. I think some people do have an agenda against Odegaard, maybe because they always wanted Madison. I think a lot of people went big on Madison is just so good. You know, why did we get Odegaard? People think he's weak. Can anybody, like, besides Kevin De Bruyne, there's not a lot of players that are naturally creative players that are brutes as well. So he's not really weak. He's just not big and strong. So he does hold his own. He gets knocked off the ball sometimes, but like if somebody who's 6'3", 6'4", are big, strong players like knocking you off the ball, like I don't know what to tell you. Um, and a lot of things that he does is not cared about. Not only does he do a lot on the ball, and him and Rice have done like a big carry job this season with the midfield for large parts of it. The things that he does never gets noticed that aren't just goals and assists. It's just his pressing, his work rate, his availability. None of those things matter to anybody. It's just, yeah, but you're not Kevin De Bruyne, are you? And it's just like, all right, well, if he's never going to get anything because he's not Kevin De Bruyne or not Madison, then I don't know what to tell you. I think Odegaard he exemplifies the Arsenal captain, really. And today wasn't the most sparkling day he's ever had, but there's a lot of players out there that probably could have done better with some of the work that he did do, if they had better moments. So that's just all. That's just all it is. I don't think people actually hate Odegaard. I just think they wish he was someone else. I feel like we always are watching the other players, the Paquetas, the Madisons, and thinking that they're so much better than Odegaard, but their teams actually watch Odegaard and want him. So sometimes you have to be happy with what you have and not always think about what you don't have. But that's just me. But yeah, I think Odegaard had a good game, just not as good as the guys behind him, but that's, it is what it is. Georgie, again, I thought he was ineffective. I think they shut down his ability to like really find those passes, and didn't really work out for him today. I think he was probably out of the midfield three, probably the worst of the three. And so I'm gonna give him like a 6 because it was just like a very nothing day for Jorginho. I can't really think of anything in particular that he did. I just think it was kind of like we didn't have the ball. He wasn't really winning it back. Odegaard and Rice were doing the majority of whatever we were doing when we did get the ball. And, he just was kind of like they converged on him and it was just like over. So I'll give him a 6, not his best, but shit happens, whatever. Let's see. Let's go with Saka. I think again, like when we don't have Saka is not playing well, we lose so much of our creation. Our creation really mostly comes through winning the ball up high through Kai Havertz, Odegaard, and Rice, and also through Odegaard and Saka on the ball. And they're our most creative players, and we lost one of those throughout this game, and it really showed. He created one chance that Jesus should do better with, but really beyond that, I thought, I don't know if he's like not fully fit or what, but like we really need him to be able to like create moments on his own. And that's definitely something that sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't, depends, but yeah, Saka definitely not his best game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought actually he was probably him and Jesus were our worst players, and frustrated me the most. Saka, because he wasn't in the game, and Jesus, he was in it, but was doing poorly with the opportunities that he had. So I'm going to give, unfortunately, I have to give Saka like a 5. I think the scores really do drop off once you get up front. I mean, I could give him a 6, I think. Maybe that's too harsh. I'll give him a 6. Like, the scores are really going to start like dropping off here. Like, I think this is where we really flattered to deceive. And I don't even know what score I'm going to give Kai Havertz because I don't really remember him doing anything beyond like getting stuck in a little bit. I don't really remember much. And the thing is, like, of course, like we didn't have a lot of the ball, but that doesn't mean that like if you're gonna play this way, and you only have to play this way against like City every once in a while, but at some point it's gonna be a requirement for us to like, you know, I feel like next season we have to really feel like we can go and win it, you know. So that's only gonna come if you can really hit them and sock them in the jaw. And we don't have that ability. We can defend really well, but we can't punch. You know, we can't hit them with the sucker punch. And that sucker punch should have came when Jesus got the ball. The sucker punch should have came, when he took the second shot. Sucker punch should have came when Saka passed it to the back post. Sucker punch should have came when Trossard passed it across. But those can also come by your attackers just making things happen. And I think largely the game kind of passed Saka by. They had him pretty much like where they wanted him. And I don't know if he was injured or not, but if he's so injured that this is the performance that we're getting, then he doesn't need to be starting. So yeah, I'll give him a 6. I don't think he was anywhere near his level, but you know, it is what it is. We got the draw. The defense really carried this performance, and I don't think anybody can say any different. Jesus, I don't know what it's going to take, buddy. I really don't. You're against your old team who, didn't want you, didn't think you could score enough goals. You're in the title race and you get 2-3 opportunities to hit them in the jaw and you just don't do it. You can defend all you want, win the ball back, press, work hard, but ultimately you have the number 9 on your back and it just wasn't it. It just wasn't it. If he wasn't fit enough, again, he shouldn't have started, but I think he was fit enough to probably hit that ball just a little bit harder, fit enough to probably get to that back post run and hit the ball. Like maybe it's harder than it looked and I'm being harsh, but I just look back at those opportunities and I just think, what is it going to take for you to score? Like, what is it going to take? So I love Jesus. I think he's a great player, but I think it just all depends on the knee injury for me. If it's still so bad, first of all, if it's so bad that this is his level, then that's a whole nother conversation. But his hierarchy in the forwards, I feel like, I don't know if he's like that much for like, I don't think he's that clear of Trossard right now. I really don't. And I think we really miss Martinelli. So yeah, he's also gonna get a 6 for me. It wasn't it. And it just really just was like not it. You guys have to help me with the Havertz one. I don't know what to give him because I don't remember anything that he did, if I'm honest. I thought he wasn't teed up with any opportunities, but equally like he didn't really create anything for himself. Did he have the opportunity to? We had less than 200 passes today. So it wasn't like we had a lot of opportunities or like a lot of the ball. But could he have done better? Could he have done more? Like, do you feel like he should have done better against, Akanji and Diaz? Like, what do you guys think? Because like I just don't remember anything he did. So I'm tempted to just give him a 6. I think our attack was just like whatever. I really do. So yeah. Mark says Havertz did not drop deep to get balls coming out of defense 4 out of 7. I think the one time that Havertz did like try to do something, it's like he did all that good work and then got it taken away from him at the top of the box. Like that was scary. That was scary. Let's see. Sparata says a lot of generosity towards Jesus' distribution was average. He's living off of those 4 really good months. That's what I'll say. There's a lot of sympathy towards the players that played well last season when we were playing the best football that we ever played. And so people remember them as that. And I just don't, I guess I'm not that. It is what it is. Jesus was not he just wasn't that good. And Die Hard, I'm not clueless with Jesus. You saying he's a 9 playing out on the wing, but what does that have to do with him? Literally, any striker would be running to the back post to score that chance that Saka put across the 6. That's like a Holland would be doing that. So even though he was a number 9 playing on the wing, what does that have to do with him putting the chances away that he had? So I'm not clueless. He needed to do better with the opportunities that he had. Jesus is not a good enough striker, and that's why he's at Arsenal now. Is because at City they moved him to the wing. So let's not rewrite history. He played really well last season for like the first 4 months before his injury. But even in October, from October on until the World Cup, he went without a goal. It took him until April to get another goal. So he just doesn't score enough goals. That's just what it is. Like, there's no way to manipulate that or change it or anything. And it's not like hyping Havertz either. I feel like some people want to pretend like Jesus is better than what he is because Havertz is not playing there and you don't like Havertz. It's not even about Havertz. Is even if Havertz wasn't here, not only is Jesus unavailable and has been available for what, let's say 60% of his Arsenal career so far, but in the time that he's played, he's went through large patches of time without scoring goals. So it's really not that deep. I think Jesus does a lot of hard work. I think he can be creative. I think he can be intense and good at times, but this season has been a little bit of a lost season for him. So, yeah. I still feel like, yeah, like people are saying, "Well, what about Sevilla away? How long ago was that?" "Oh, but Nottingham Forest away. How long was that?" Like, there's one game in every quarter of the season. Like, I don't like, what are we saying? So, and he wasn't the only one in our attack that wasn't good enough today. But Jesus, the chances that we did have fell to his feet. So he should have done better with at least one of them. I'm really trying to understand why we're trying to pretend like if Havertz didn't scuff those 2 shots and not got to that back post that you guys wouldn't want him on the stake. Let's be serious for 1 second. So Saka was non-existent. Jesus missed the chances that we had. Havertz really wasn't in the game. So yeah, it's just, yeah, and I think the one player that we know of that is kind of this way no matter what is Jesus. We know that he doesn't score a lot of goals. We know what he's really good at. But that being said, I think he needs to get fully fit from this knee thing. I think also, like with Jesus, if he doesn't have his explosiveness and his intensity and the way that he moves, he's also not as deadly. And so maybe that'll come when he gets some more fitness, because that knee is crazy. Like the fact that he has to get it like drained before games is not a good sign. So yeah, like there's a lot of different moving parts there. It's, did we create enough chances? Should he have done better with those chances? What did he do besides those chances? Is he fit enough? Those are so many factors that lead into me thinking that he had a very completely average game, and really just did not change any narrative about him. Like, it is what it is. So, yeah, but he wasn't the only one. Trossard, I cannot believe you did not pass that ball to Martinelli. I saw some people trying to say that he shouldn't have passed it to Martinelli, or he couldn't have, or something like that. You guys, even if that ball did not reach Martinelli, it's more dangerous to pass the ball into the corridor of uncertainty where all those defenders are running back towards their own goal and they have pressure coming from them in that other direction, versus stopping, cutting back, then letting Rico Lewis get set, letting the goalkeeper get set, and then kicking it straight to the goalkeeper. There is nothing about that was right. Nothing. And that was the moment. If you watched Arteta and the way he reacted to it, that was it. That was so fucking it. It really was. Hit it with the outside of your boot. Hit it with your left foot. Just get it in the corridor of uncertainty in a spot where they have to either defend it, they make a mistake. Martinelli, if he's running behind you, even if he's not in front of you, if he's behind you, he scares you into making a mistake. That just was the wrong decision altogether. I think the back post chance was better than that, but that was also a very good chance that I just cannot understand for the life of me why he didn't cross it. I know some people are like, that's why you shouldn't play on the wing. I'm like, even if he wasn't on the wing and did that, I'd be pissed. It's not even about his positioning, it's about his decision making. And again, we have when we play against the better teams, our decision making with limited chances is very, very suspect. We make the wrong pass, we take a shot when we shouldn't, we take too long, we don't do this. The decision making is poor. It just is. And so Trossard, I don't even know what to tell you, boo. I really don't. Because that chance is still like in my mind. Because I just feel like he just should have hit it. So I'm gonna give him a 6. I thought he did some good things when he came on, but ultimately that chance just like ruined it for me. It just really did. Like I don't know why we're pretending like he should have done anything other than actually like hit it across. Like Martinelli was right the fuck there. Like, come on. I'll wrap these up a little bit quicker just because I know some people need to get out of here. I need to get out of here as well. But I just want to say, like, just it, like wrapping it up in like a quick little bow for a couple of players. I thought Tomiyasu, once he got into the groove, was good and lockdown St. Maximum, I mean Doku. So I'm going to give I'm gonna give Tommy a 7. I thought he did a good job, and with more reps, he'll obviously get like his touch back. I'll give Thomas Partey also a 7. Like I said, I don't have an agenda against him. I actually think he played good when he came on, and he was probably more effective than Jorginho was, despite Jorginho playing more minutes or like longer. I just think that the one really good chance that we had in the second half, he was a big part of it. It wasn't just like a simple pass either. He had to look over his shoulder, kind of evade pressure. He baited them. He passed it into the pocket to Odegaard. Odegaard passes it to Trossard. Trossard fucks it up. So I think he did have a good cameo. And so, yeah, I would like to see him play against Luton to get some more minutes into his legs, because if Jorginho is kind of running out of steam, then we need somebody to step in. And we know that Thomas Partey is a great midfielder when he's fit. So, yeah, he gets a 7 as well. And I think there was one more person too, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's it. We did. Oh, Nelly. Nelly brought a lot of energy, and I hope that he's fit enough to play against Luton, because I would start him whether it's on the right or the left. I don't care. I think Martinelli, we did miss his pace and his energy. I feel like he just doesn't give a shit, and I felt like we played within ourselves, and I don't think Martinelli does that. I think he does the more instinctual thing where some of our players overthink everything. And so I'm going to give him a 7 as well. I think is probably egging him on just a little bit, but I just think that Martinelli just gives us a little something, and I'm hoping that he's fit enough to play against Luton. Tawana says 6. Mark says when Partey is back fully fit, I think we'll be dangerous. Hopefully it's before the end of the season. We only got 9 games left. So yeah, 6.5 said Scott says 6.5. Goyan says Tommy 7.5. Johnny says Partey 6 out of 10, not long enough to impact the game enough. Jordan Davis says we will never win games. We have to. I mean, we had to beat Liverpool at home, and we won it. So that's not correct. We had to beat Liverpool to stay in the title race, and we did that. I think it's a tall order to ask to we have to beat Man City at the Etihad. I think we did a good job. I really do. I think we just need to invest in the front line. We really do. We need to get some attackers that have that ability to create moments, and we just didn't have that, so we do win games that we have to. We had to beat Porto, didn't we? So we do that. Die Hard Gunner says Partey was a baller, 7 for sure. Mark says, remember, Tomiyasu has not played in weeks, and he has played against a very tough player in Doku, 6.8. Taking that all into consideration, I thought he was good. He had one moment where he passed it out for the unnecessary corner, but there's a difference between what was his defending good or was his touches good. I think his touches were off, but I thought his defending was good, and he has a shorter amount of time to make an impact. He was a sub. So I'm thinking, was his sub performance, did he add something to the group that was already there? Did he make us worse, or did he make us better? I think he made us better. I think he handled Doku well. I think in a moment where Kiwior was just about to fall off the cliff, Tomiyasu kept us alive. So yeah, based on a substitution performance, he gets a 7. So does Thomas Partey. I think they both added something. That's just me though, you know? So yeah, Winning Way says Rice is like having another 2 players on the pitch. Yeah, it's hard, you guys. Like, I mean, I know we're gonna be a little bit disappointed on not getting the full points and all that kind of stuff. And obviously Liverpool fans will be the most excited about that result. But we did what we could in the moment, and hopefully I mean, we'll have more conversations about this. I'm sure we'll have an episode of the Cannon Club up for you guys soon. I'm trying to get diluted back on the channel. We'll try to get some more people on the channel to talk about this, but I think we put ourselves in a position where we're still in striking position just in case like Liverpool make a mistake. But we have a really tough run in and we have survived a game, but we will probably look at those chances and say, could we have done better? So yeah. Listen, there is still 191 of you guys in here, which is amazing. Make sure you guys smash the likes. Um, I think I got all of the super chats. So those are done. Yeah, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel, set notifications and things like that. And I super enjoyed today. We did a watch along, we did this stream, we did the pre-stream, we did all those things, and you guys made doing this really hard day a lot better. So thank you so much. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye guys.